Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. This one is for all you working parents, especially you working moms. Have you ever gone out on your career or gone for a work trip and felt so much guilt that you are not a stay-at-home parent? Have you ever felt terrible missing a PTA meeting or missing a parent-child meeting or a birthday? Oh my goodness. Well, if you are a parent who's suffering parental guilt, then this episode is for you. I'm going to help you deal with it and find new ways to cope. Coming up next, a mother who is in the throes of a very busy work schedule and as a result cannot spend enough time with her daughter, and she's wondering if this disconnection is going to impact her child negatively. Joining me now are Jess and Gavin. They have a 3.5-year-old daughter. Jess is worried that she's not spending enough time with her daughter due to her work schedule. And she says she feels a little powerless with her 3.5-year-old and is worried about their disconnection. Hi, guys. Tell me what's going on.
Well, as you said, we've got a 3.5-year-old and we have tried to be very kind of present with her and very just conscious, I guess, with her. We've been aware of your books and stuff, and we had her during the lockdown, so it was like a bubble for a long time. And then I started going back to work, and I'm a touring musician, and I will go away sometimes for a few weeks at a time. And we're so with her, and then it's like I pull the plug and I go away for this time. And she doesn't like to see me on the phone, doesn't she? She doesn't want to talk to me or...
No, not so much. It's better now, but for a long period, she was pushing away. Yeah. I didn't want to see you.
And the way that she deals with her moods is very much, leave me alone. I don't want you to come near me. And I'm worried that somehow I've potentially caused this, and I'm quite scared of her moods. And Gavin is amazing with her, but I am also worried about how that has, that you've had to do a lot of parenting, and I feel like it's kind of unfair.
How long do you go for?
Well, the longest has been 6 weeks, but you came around America for a month, which was a lot for you. But the longest without me fully has been 2 weeks.
Okay, and how often are you gone?
With a full touring schedule, it could be like a few days at home and then I'm gone, and then at home for a week and then gone.
All year round?
It has been for the past 2 years. Okay,
so let me just understand. So for the past 2 years of your daughter's life, which means since she was around 1? So,
yeah.
Okay. So around 1 year old to now, you've been off and on every other week, sometimes for 2 weeks, sometimes for 5 weeks. It varies, but mostly for a week or 2 weeks, on and off every few days.
Yeah. So sometimes there'll be a gap where I can be at home for maybe a month, and then she'll get really used to this lovely family bubble. And then I go away again.
Yes. So you already know that there is some inconsistency in her core caregiving. Now, Gavin is there, so that is amazing, but she is going to react in a different way to the parent that is dipping in and dipping out. And her way of coping is to not open herself up to being hurt every time. So she is creating that barrier because she knows this person is not that reliable. They don't stay around a lot. Now, she doesn't understand you're working, he's staying at home. She just looks at it from her very egocentric 3-year-old self's view that this person says they love me, but they go away and then I forget about them. Then they show back up. Then I feel happy again. So she's actually protecting herself by shutting down. And children at this age are just learning object constancy, which means typically for kids this age, out of sight is out of mind. Which is why, they will hide right in front of you. And just because they're closing their eyes, they will think you can't see them because they don't understand object permanence. So for her to not see you on FaceTime is actually protective. It's better this way, out of sight, out of mind. But you'll have to deal with your feelings, because you could interpret it as you being rejected, or she's abandoning you, or she's discarding you, when actually you're the one who is, quote unquote, rejecting her. But she's not looking at it as rejection. So don't worry. Right now, she's not. Right now, she's just protecting herself and shutting down and not allowing you back in till she trusts you again. This is the age of trust and mistrust. So that's very important at this age. So at least she has Gavin, who's a consistent caregiver. And listen, I'm sure it hurts you way more than it hurts her. This is a choice that you've made for your family. I would say step into it, embrace it, embody it, but it will come with a huge consequence.
Yeah. And I think her strong emotions when she feels kind of passionate about something, or now it's like if you move a fork in the wrong way, she has a tantrum, and she just doesn't want me to go near her, and I'm such a kind of, oh, my sweet girl, and I want to hug her, and she's just like, leave me alone, mummy.
Yeah, because you in your head are the same mommy who left her. In her mind, you have now become a stranger, and you now need to rebuild the trust. She doesn't have enough data or experience to keep you in her memory. You do. So when you come back, you're ready to go, oh, baby. And she's like, whoa, who are you? She calls you mommy. She doesn't even know what that means. For her, it's like, who are you? I don't know who you are. So you have to go really slow when you ease back. You can't just expect that she's going to come back with you immediately. Right?
Yeah.
So you have chosen this, and that's okay. Just know if it was flipped, she would do the same to Gavin. So it's not personal. It's not against you. You know, you have chosen to go out. That's good. There's no mommy shaming going on here. Just know, even if Gavin was the one going out, he would pay a price for it too. It's attachment, right? So children want secure attachment. So they're going to attach to the people who are closest to them, who show up the most. You could be the most beautiful parent, but it doesn't matter. You're not the one who's there. So that is actually going to bear heavier on you as a woman and a mother than it really is even on her. She's going to be okay. It's you who are going to have to understand you are the backseat parent.
Yeah. That's hard to come to terms with. Yeah.
And society may guilt trip you. They don't guilt trip dads, but they're going to guilt trip you. Oh, how come he's always at the parent teacher? And how come he's always at the PTA? And where's the mother? Where's your mother? Because culture is not ready for what you're doing. But that's okay. Gavin seems, I'm watching him right now, like a lovely maternal energy person. I think he can do great. In fact, maybe even better than all of us. So no knock on that. It's just you will have to deal with culture stereotypes. And maybe in the future, she will give you some flack for choosing your career, and you're going to have to embrace that and say, no, I did that because I was earning for the family, or I was doing X for the family, and that's a choice we made. And if you are guilty about it, she's going to really go hard on you.
And what's interesting was when I was young, my mum would be at home for a long time, and then she'd go away for 3 or 4 weeks, and I found that really hard, and I think I've carried a lot of resentment for that as well. There's a lot of baggage caught up in it, I would say.
And listen, as things progress and you get older, you may reevaluate your role and you may change it up. And it is very hard for a mother, especially, to leave their baby. And I'm not saying fathers don't miss their baby, but it's a different biological attachment. I mean, you carried her in your belly. So I know you're sacrificing a lot, and it's not easy for you. And you need to have compassion for yourself, because it's so easy for culture to judge you, perhaps, but only you know how hard it is for you. And Gavin, you know, kudos to you for stepping in and being an amazing parent and helping your wife do what she needs to do for your family. And remember, no one is making a greater sacrifice. It's just what you've chosen to do for the family. So whether you're doing it or she's doing it, no one is more noble here, you know, because Gavin is going to get a lot of credit. Wow, what an amazing dad, because we're not used to fathers doing this. But no, he's just being a parent, and you're being a parent. One is earning or one is staying at home. They both are different functions. So don't buy into the, oh, she's selfish and I'm noble. I know you're not, but don't let culture do that to you guys. You both are very loving parents and you both are doing what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the scenarios. This the way we can survive basically is we can't not do it. So we have to do it. But it does bring a lot of strain. It brings a lot of emotions and a lot of different levels. Because for me, it's been hard, been really hard to the point of like on the edge of breaking. You know, it was like when Jess got back after going around America with a 2-year-old. I got back and I was just a broken man. I was like, I'm broke. I need some time for self. I need to regain who I was because I lost all of my identity. I didn't know what I did anymore or who I was. I was dad.
Yeah. Welcome to parenthood.
The attachment and connection is so deep with mother and child. With father, you know, I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm meant to connect now, am I? Okay, how do I do that then? Because all I see is a grub. I see this grub in front of me that wants things and taking my life. So how do I connect here? You know?
Totally. I mean, there is something to be said about the female body and the mother's body. And the child just has an instinctual recognition of the mother from the smell, the hormones, the blood that they shared, the breath that they shared. So what you're experiencing in terms of a loss of identity is every young parent's nightmare. All of us, mothers, fathers, all of us lose ourselves. And it is painful, isn't it? You should talk to other mothers and help them. But what's more difficult is exactly what you said, is you were never part of this umbilical union between mother and child. So you're stepping in and, you know, people are not going to like when I say this. Ultimately, you're more testosterone driven and she's more oxytocin driven. So oxytocin is the cuddling, love, connection hormone. You really don't have much of it. You can be nice, but it's not your instinct. Your instinct is more masculine. So you're trying to step into your feminine, which is so amazing. I'm so proud of you. But it's much harder for you to step into your feminine than it is for a female to step into their feminine. Now, people are not going to like this, but it's a fact. And that's why you're struggling even more. And you absolutely do need compassion and care. And for sure, you must be feeling like breaking down because every mother who's given birth feels like breaking down. And she can be just a stay-at-home mom and doing this because she loves it, and she could still break down. Because those early 3-4 years of parenthood, they swallow you, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. I mean, I couldn't have called myself dad until I've absorbed the role of dad now. I understand what it is, and now I can call myself a dad. Whereas before, I was just a man with a baby.
I know.
Well, let's do this. What am I doing? What do I do? Throw it on my back and go? Yeah. You know, it's a long time, but now I can call myself a dad because I had to grieve my past self. I had to go through emotional time of who I was, and it was like that human being doesn't exist anymore. I need to become this new being.
Yes.
Which it took me 3 years. It's taken me 3. Now I can go, yeah, I'm dad. I know who I am again now.
Yes.
I know how I can combine it with who I am and combine all the emotions together and go, yeah, right, I can do this now. But that was like 3 long years.
Oh my goodness. You are spot on. I have goose flesh because you're really speaking to the whole metamorphosis of a role versus an embodiment. And now you've become the role. Before it was a role you put on yourself. You see, we women who become mothers biologically are a little bit more privileged because we have those 9 months of incubation where we get to connect and it's gentle and our blood is mixing with theirs and our hormones become one and we're connected. So when the baby comes out, even though it's a shock, let me tell you, even for the female, when the baby comes out, you're like, who the hell is this? And who you imagined is not what the baby is on the outside. And then you also, as a mother, have to create a bond, but it's much easier because of the 9 months of gestation. You didn't have that. So both of you are incredible. I will say that y'all are going to pay a price. I truly suggest to truly think about more children before you have them because your lifestyle is difficult to manage a child, as you're seeing.
Yeah, we've had lots of conversations about sticking with one child.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it now. You know, before when it was always hard, but that one really tells you how hard it is. They don't really line it up for you. You're like, yeah, no worries. And then it's like, boom. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you were right. This is
really
this is
hard.
like a life thing. This is a proper full-time job. It's a full-time role that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And you take your hours when you can get your hours. You do your yoga when you can,
Yeah.
And if you miss, or accept that and be grateful for everything that you do get a chance to have, and to just play that role and grow that child. It's tough.
Yeah.
And for the men out there, it's all right. It's all right to cry. It's hard.
Yeah, it is so difficult. I mean, it's so refreshing to hear a man go through the pain that we go through, and we often don't get credit, because we're just expected to step into it. But here's the thing: today's world, in our modern world, we've set ourselves up for this hardship. It's not actually supposed to be this hard, because we're not actually supposed to be working outside the house, and we're not actually supposed to be doing this on our own. We're supposed to be doing this with community, with our aunties and grandmothers. And this burden on the nuclear parent, the nuclear family, is going to take the life out of all of us, and our children are going to pay a price. So y'all are such hardworking, earnest, loving parents, but y'all have no choice but to do this job, which takes you out of the home. But that's not what's ideal, and now y'all are suffering. So take it as a growth opportunity. You've learned so much. You'll have developed and evolved. And that is the most beautiful way to make lemonades out of your current situation. Better than lemonades, you're making it into a gold treasure chest. So continue on. You guys seem amazing. And mommy, you're going to have to, deal with that aching heart, because I can only imagine how hard it is for you to enter your masculine and separate from your baby. It must be gut-wrenching for you.
Yeah, and also I think at the beginning, once I had her, I suffered from postnatal depression. And I feel like when it's hard now, I want to go back to her being a baby, but knowing who she is now.
Mm-hmm.
Allow myself to just sit with her, because when she was born, I was like, she's not going to sleep on time. And somebody bought me a parenting book. And it was like, put your baby on a schedule. And it made me nuts. Your baby needs to nap at 7:20, and then they need to have lunch at this time. And I felt so mentally ill. And I did not enjoy the first probably year and a half of her being around. I felt just empty inside. And you felt like you didn't know who you were. And it was a very tough time.
I didn't know who I was, but the one thing I did understand, that this being didn't have, there was no thought, there was no understanding, there was only shapes and things that were going on in this world. So I did understand that it was just a pure source situation. So I could understand that if I sat with her and meditated until I was nothing, she went into a peace state and fall asleep. I got more reactions from clearing my mind and clearing myself. I felt like I was communicating with her with energy. Like, what is this? How do we combine this into our lifestyle and stay positive and stay happy and healthy?
Very hard, but these are beautiful years, and nobody will teach you presence and the present moment and meditation more than a young baby. So she will teach you love. She will teach you unconditional acceptance. She will teach you present moment awareness. She will teach you how not to have an ego. She will teach you how to play. So she's giving you, a PhD in life. So you are doing a lot, Gavin, even though it seems like you're just a dad. You are doing a lot. You are going to university. So that is huge. And you're really investing in another human's life. So congratulations. Thank you both for joining me and being so vulnerable and sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank
Lovely.
you for having
Thank you
us.
for your time, man.
Thank you.
Coming up next, a grandmother who wants to know how she can be more conscious for her grandchildren. We're now going to meet Rikaza. She's a young grandmother who says she failed at being a conscious parent, but now wants to learn how to be a conscious grandparent. Hi, Rikaza. So nice to meet you. Tell us what's going on.
Lovely meeting you, Dr. Shefali. Thank you for having me. So when I was bringing up my kids, we always follow our parents' pattern. So I think I was a sandwich generation. So my mom took care of my eldest son because I was in mid school. And then I didn't have a chance to raise him, the way I wanted, or I was unconscious at that point. I was always having this regret. I never got a chance or didn't do it properly. So now I got an opportunity to be a conscious grandparent because now he's married, having his son, now sons. So from unconscious to conscious, I want your help and I want your insights and your wisdom.
Wonderful. So how old are your grandchildren now?
So 28 months and 9 months.
And where do your son and daughter-in-law live?
They were my neighbors in Orlando. I actually moved to Orlando from California because of the grandkids. And now they have shifted to to the next neighboring community, but still 5 minutes away.
And what have they asked you to do in terms of role as grandmother? What are you allowed to do, expected to do?
Interesting. So when I first came, I think they were very overwhelmed with the first child. So when I came, immediately I took over the child, but I felt overwhelmed because coming from a full-time physician to coming to have him most of the time was a bit overwhelming. And then they put the child into daycare, which the child got sick, went 2 days to daycare, 1 week at home. And my heart was like, no, I just couldn't handle it. They could handle it. I couldn't handle it. So I was always in loggerheads saying that, let him be at home and not in the daycare because he's sick. So that was the first battle. I think it was a battle for me on my part to bring him back to home. So that was the first thing. So I was not sure whether I'm stepping over my boundaries, telling them, how to do it. So I had this, little bit of a tiff up because I was wondering, how could you leave this child like this in the daycare?
Let me ask you, have you discussed what your role should be with your daughter-in-law and your son?
Never.
Okay. Maybe that's the first step as a conscious grandparent, is to ask if they want you to be who you think you should be. Right? You want to do a makeover. You want to do-over. You're all excited. It's not your child. So
Right.
The first step is to realize you cannot do a do-over with someone who's not your child. Sorry. It just is what it is. Right? That boat has passed. But you can be lovely. But you're not going to get to do parenting. You can do grandparenting, but a grandparent is very different than a parent.
Yes.
So you've already overstepped from grandparent to parent. And that's not really quite fair for your family because they need to be the parents. How is that sitting with you when I tell you that?
Yeah, I do understand my role now. And initially I didn't. It was hard and, it was just coming from my heart. I didn't think twice, but now I want to, be there for them whenever they ask me. So it's hard, but that's how it is, I guess, to be a conscious parent or grandparent.
You see, you gave your child away to your parents. So you're thinking in your subconscious, why can't they just give me their children, right? Because you did that with your parent. And unfortunately, today, things don't work like that. And the second thing that's important to note is what you said. You were all heart and you didn't think twice. Exactly. You didn't think. And thinking needs to go with feeling. You can't do one without the other and be proud of it, right? So you're saying, oh, I thought it through, but you didn't use a heart-based approach is not going to be good in a relationship. But if you only use heart and don't use your thoughts, that's not going to be good either. So you're learning as a conscious grandparent, lesson number 2 is use heart and mind, not just one or the other. And the most important thing is, can you please have a discussion with them about what they would expect from you and how you suffered your own parenting and how you come from that wound? Being a conscious person means being authentic. Let's tell them authentically, listen, I'm a little messed up. I didn't get a chance, so I'm very excited. And I realize it's not my business to be so enthusiastic. This is your child, but I really want to take this child and go away somewhere else. Be honest. Because if you're not honest, then they can't tell you to buzz off. Or they may tell you, now we realize why you're so crazy. Oh, okay. Right? Pretending that you're doing this as a grandmother is a lie because you're not doing it as a grandmother. Most grandparents don't want to take over their children completely. You want to take over the children completely because you have a trauma. You have a trauma from your childhood, and you need to have compassion for that and own up to it and say, listen, I'm a little screwed up here because of my trauma. I didn't get to raise this beautiful boy, my son. Now I want to raise his children, but I realize that's not fair. You have to raise your children. But just know that if I'm a little wonky, it's because I'm coming from a trauma place. That is being conscious. That's being authentic. That's being brave.
Yeah.
Is that a heavy pill to swallow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never correlated with trauma, and that I'm
You didn't correlate that you were recreating your own past?
yeah.
So my love, whenever you feel rejected, whenever you feel like they're excluding you, whenever you feel like they're not taking your wisdom into play, it's not them, it's you. It's your feeling like you need to be more because you didn't have your role as a parent given to you. Life took that away from you, but you were part of that decision. And now we can't regret, but we can grieve. You're allowed to say, you know what? I never acknowledged that trauma. And I became a successful physician and I'm so proud of myself. But hey, I have a deep pain of missing those years. It's okay for you to grieve, but you cannot recreate it.
Yeah. I get it now. Yeah. I think the first thing probably to have a conversation. Indirectly, they have told me, we don't want you to be full-time, but, we want you to enjoy them as well. So the other thing is when I go away from them also, I feel guilty that I need to be there around them. Something happens, or I should be there. So sometimes if they fall sick, I just take the next flight and come back. And, because my son goes away because he's a pilot, so he goes away. So I feel like I need to be around them. So even the smallest thing, I just, on my own, I want to be there,
Yeah.
So
you don't want to be there. It's a trauma reaction of overcompensation. It's your instinct. You don't even know what you want. You're just doing it because you have this pain, this unfinished business from not being a parent to your son, this great guilt that now you're overcompensating. It's a trauma reaction. It's not the truth, because the truth is you're not needed. The second truth is your daughter-in-law needs to learn to do this by themselves and they need to figure it out. And you cannot keep doing this by spending all this money and time. It's not your place. The fact that you just want to run and do it, that instinct, that impulsiveness, I want all parents out there to realize whenever we act in this unthinking, knee-jerk way, it's a trauma reaction. Now, it doesn't mean you don't need to do it, but don't call it authentic. Call it, oh, I'm having a trauma reaction.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And most importantly, one day you have to really forgive yourself for not having been there because you did the best you could with the consciousness you had.
Yeah.
And I know it must have not been easy for you.
No, it was.
Yes. And I don't think you've ever acknowledged the pain of that. Have you? I see that you're tearing up. So I know that you feel so bad. It's like a gaping hole inside you.
It was torn between, like, my child is with my parents and I have to study. When I study, I think of my child. But when I come home to be with my child, I think everybody's studying. I was only married lady and that child in the med school. So it's always torn between me and the books. And when I come to be with my child in the weekends, I think, oh, I have an exam, I have not studied. So it's always been this tug war, but I did it. then I took this pain all the time.
I know, sweetie, you did it. You really did it. And you are not a bad mother for doing it. You had no choice at that time. And you should be so proud of yourself. And you did not leave your baby with anybody unsafe. You left it with the tribe. That's good. Children should be raised by their grandparents, honestly.
Yeah, it was like an extended family. And I know it's in good hands, but the fact that I was not there.
Yes.
See it and heard it through my parents bothered me.
Was a trauma for you. I don't think you realize how much you have missed it.
Yeah. I think when you told me and you're telling me all this, now I think, it's some trauma. You're right.
But we need to take care of you now. We need to mother you now. And we need you to have compassion for that little girl who went to med school and she was a mother and she felt guilty, but she did it. You did it. You raised a good boy. But now you need to know your place and not overstep your lane, because you cannot rob them of their opportunity to be parents they want to be. So you can tell them about your trauma. And I think they would really understand you better. And I think your son would need to hear that from you. And then you can tell them, I'm always here and you can call me when you need me, but I'm not going to overtake because I am needy. I'm going to let you have your opportunity to be parents.
Yeah, I want them to have that. Truly, I want them to have that. But it's so different when you're a grandparent. I don't know how much love you get, so much of love and comes flooding more than your kids. It's just another level.
Good for you. Listen, grandparenting is much better than parenting. Enjoy being a grandparent. So it's a win-win situation for you, but just know where you're coming from and be more conscious and aware. So I really appreciate you joining us and sharing your vulnerability. I see you, I honor you, and I hope that you can release any guilt that you have.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this session. It was eye-opening for me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hearing from these parents, I'm once again reminded at how difficult it is for us, especially us women, us mothers, to juggle both parenting and working outside the home. It's almost as if we have to pick one or the other. Should I follow my passion and my heart and my career's desire? Or do I follow my primal instinct and desire to be a mother who's present and there and caregiving? And the modern mother really faces a tremendous predicament, a real dilemma. And there is no easy answer. And I always tell mothers who are in this bind of trying to be outside the house and inside the house. And sometimes they do a messy job and they can only do one or the other. And they carry this heavy guilt and this painful burden. I always tell them that adding guilt, adding self-deprecation, adding judgment and scorn is actually going to make things worse. It's okay if you chose to be outside the house. It's okay. Your children will grow up. They'll just grow up differently. And it's better to embrace the choice you're making and spend the time you do have with your children with the utmost presence and the utmost creativity and the utmost engagement and warmth. Many women are more able to thrive working outside the home rather than being full-time mothers. It is not our place to judge mothers' choices. It's our place to support each other, to provide a soft landing place, and to empower each other to celebrate our choices without the burden of guilt and judgment. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, make sure you subscribe. If you'd like to be a guest, you can. Go to my website, click on the link podcast, and fill up the guest form. And I will see you on the next episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. Parenting and You with Dr. Shefali is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, psychological, psychotherapeutic, coaching, healthcare, or other qualified professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment.